All right. Well, it's been a while. Welcome in to the Better Than the Other League podcast. I'm your host and commissioner of the Better Than the Other League, Jay Caddy. We haven't recorded a podcast or anything since last year's championship game, so I need to formally congrats John on YouTube. Spoondog won. He defeated Brad 215 to 206. Surprisingly low scoring matchup, but if I remember correctly, John had Taylor Heineke in at quarterback, which was pretty crazy. And yeah, that was pretty awesome. And I think Puka had a big game for him too. We were surprised that Spooner held on to win, which is pretty awesome. So John is he was now our champion of 2014, and he was last year's champion 2023. Congrats to him. Today we have some guests with me. We have the commissioner of the Dynasty Fantasy League, Andrew Stratton. Welcome.
How's it going, everybody?
And we also have 2015 and 2020 Better Than the Other League champion, Nick Coram.
How's it going? Also co-commissioner of the Dynasty.
That's right. That is right.
You got the co-commissioners of Dynasty here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Which I'm very excited about. And Andrew, I love listening to your podcast that you guys did last night about your Dynasty review. So that was really good.
Thanks.
Yeah. Today we have a great show for you today. We're going to do a quick little recap of draft day, all the shenanigans that happened. We have some matchup previews. Each of us are going to give our predictions for the matchups for this week. We have some bold predictions. And lastly, your mystery prize drawing for week one. So draft day was pretty eventful. The two of you participated in our annual golf outing.
The drinking portion, at least. That was not golfing.
That was the pre-gaming to the actual gaming.
Matt, I just want to formally apologize on camera for my performance. I have not golfed that bad in a while. I just kind of fell off the rails, had way too much to drink. So
yeah, I was visual. I was present for that, Andrew, and you fell off the rails pretty hard. But I mean, that was fun and all. But getting into the nitty gritty of fantasy football, the way we determined draft order was a little different this year. We did a little timed obstacle course. So the person who had the best time finishing was able to choose their draft spot. And we have the fastest man on earth here with us, Nick Coram.
Yeah, watch out, Usain Bolt.
So Nick,
I didn't know Usain Bolt was on the podcast. We have another special guest.
So Nick, you need to tell us how you did it. How were you the fastest in this little obstacle course?
One turn flip cup, and then running up the hill as fast as I could, and then getting a bag in the hole for cornhole in one of my first 4 throws. Mm-hmm. And that pretty much sealed it. Oh, also, I'm not a retard at puzzles. Sorry for using the R word, but a lot of you guys sucked so bad at puzzles.
Yeah, that was the most difficult for everybody. That was surprisingly challenging, even though I still gave you a picture of the puzzle right in front of you. A lot of us, even myself, I couldn't complete it in time. So
I did Google the puzzles after the fact to see like how much they were, because it was a set of 12-pack, and the descriptions for them were like elderly puzzles for senior citizens or people with it was so bad. I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah,
large puzzle for elderly people.
Well, I mean, I thought they were a good investment, not only for this, but when my daughter grows up to do puzzles, she has cool 16-piece puzzles to do. So
16 pieces is a pretty good puzzle for kiddos.
Yeah. And then getting into the draft, we don't necessarily have to get into like who drafted who and all this kind of stuff. And I just know how I felt when Nick, you sniped ETN right in front of me, and that affected my whole draft because I was definitely gonna go a running back in the second round, hoping he'd be there, but you little sneaker.
Did I do him second round? Oh yeah, I guess so.
Mhm.
Sorry.
That's okay. But do you guys have any thoughts about the actual draft? Andrew, you drafted for Tom, who
I
was
did
not
draft
present.
Tom. Yeah, I had a good time. I felt, him and I talked about a few things, and it is very difficult to like communicate with somebody while you're trying to draft if they're not there. We just kind of talked about some general strategy, and then I kind of just said, I asked him some questions about, if people, some people like to secure backups at different positions, make sure you get things. Just so I had a feel for what he wanted to do in the later rounds, but for the most part, I kind of had a strategy I was sticking to, and I don't know, I was comfortable with the players I targeted, and just so Tom knows, I have a very similar team in another league, so it's not like I drafted a bunch of players I don't like. Like, I have a similar team that I will be riding that has several of the same players. So,
Oh yeah, and Nick,
What?
yep.
you had
Nick, did you just see my breaking news on the podcast?
No.
Oh, well, check our other league that we're in. I just made a deal with the invisible man who
Did you
never
get
responds to
Pacheco?
anybody. I just got Pacheco again in another league.
Goodness gracious.
Traded my 25 first for Isaiah Pacheco, and pretty happy about it
not bad.
because I needed an RB1 in
Yeah.
that league badly. So, not
You
to
had a
get off
question,
topic,
Jesse?
sorry. Go for it,
Oh
Jesse.
no, that's okay. No, you can drop your news about your other league. That's fine. That I'm not in. So
We're better than that other league.
Yeah. Your league
Nick,
is better. Your league is a lot better than that league.
I
Trust me.
appreciate that hence the name. So Nick, you had the first choice of where you wanted it in the draft.
Yeah.
You chose pick number 8. What was the logic
Sure
behind
did.
that?
Yeah, I kind of blacked out there. And
you weren't
in a lot of the mock drafts,
out.
I did. Yeah, a lot of the mock drafts, I didn't like drafting early because I didn't like who I was getting on the return in round 2, which like apparently it's just a 2-round draft apparently. So I liked the return on round 2 earlier in the second round. So I wanted that later pick in the first round. And I felt like 8th, I'd still get either a top tier wide receiver or one of my top tier running backs. And then I wanted to pair it with like Derrick Henry on the way back, but Chris sniped him right before me. So then I got ETN.
Yeah. Awesome.
I mean, I agreed with your decision. If I like my ideal spot was anywhere in the 5 to 8 range, kind of for that same thought process you had. Was I thought there was kind of a tier that ended about the 8th pick. I thought there was kind of a break there in the first round, but then when you came back around, you'd want those picks so you could get kind of still in that next tier of guys in the second round.
Right. Well, and then somebody right before me decided to draft Jamar Chase over Jay Jettas, so I was lucky enough to grab him.
Yeah. Well, somebody before me decided to draft Amon-Ra St. Brown instead of Jamar Chase. So there's
was
2.
that me?
Yes, that was you. St. Brown and then ETN back to back. I was like, that ruined my whole plan. So, all right, boys. But yeah, the draft day was fun. We had a blast. The teams are all set. They're final, and we're getting into week 1 matchups. So we're going to start off with Spoondog and Dave's matchup. So for me, you have 2 of the big running back studs going against each other. Dave drafted Bijan Robinson, and then Spoondog drafted Breece Hall. And though, I mean, either of those could be RB1 this year. But I am going to give the edge to Dave just because of his receivers. I think his receivers are going to have better games than Spoondog. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that game. So I'm giving that win to David. Where do I was looking to try to click who I want to win. Because I always play this game by myself all year long to see how my records of wins and losses, but I'll do that later. Yeah. Your guys' thoughts on Dave and Spoondog's team at all?
I mean, I like Spooner's team. I don't know. It's one of those things where, like, to me, like, Achan's a toss up of, like, it could be super good, but then could just fall flat or get injured. But I mean, Cooper's going to be solid. Reed's probably going to be solid. Olave, I don't know. I'm still in the up in the air with him. But yeah,
I don't really
think
I don't like
over
his team
Dave.
that much.
Yeah, I mean, Achan.
I
is
like
just
Breeze. Yeah.
I mean, Achan could have a 200-point game, but then he's also an itty bitty little man who can get injured pretty easily. So I'm worried about him. But so
yeah, one thing with Spooner's team, I would not want to go in with Chris Olave as my wide receiver one. I just don't really I would not have much confidence in that.
I agree. Let's move on. We'll go to Nick. I'm going to have you take a look at mine and Brad's matchup.
Yeah. So, Jesse, I'm a fan of your team, even though everybody craps on it. Just because I for reasons that I have a lot of your players in my dynasty leagues.
Right, you do.
but yeah, but I mean, this is the year we'll figure out if CJ Stroud is a one hit wonder or not. I mean, everything last year points to him being good this year. So pairing him with Dell, even though Dell's technically wide receiver 3, should be good. You have Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp. Even though he's old, he's still wide receiver 1B on the team, and will probably still get a lot of PPR even with Nakua coming back. Not full strength. As Mike mentioned, your running back's kind of low. I mean, Jaleel McLaughlin might get more fantasy points week 1 than Williams in Denver. So like it's kind of hard to give an RB1, but it may not be the best on his team. So it's kind of tough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I actually disagree. I think Javonte is poised for kind of a big season. I think Sean Payton backs get a lot of passes. So I feel like Javonte, now being 2 years from the ACL, this could be his year for to actually show what he showed. But Javonte will catch a lot of balls.
True, but I just kind of see him like more like, because Sean Payton, he gives him like the.
I mean, I drafted Jaleel McLaughlin for Tom's team, so I'm not disagreeing fully, but I think that I wouldn't write off Javonte. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. And then you have Brad's team, QB1. But it's with Brad, like his wide receivers scare me. Unproven, young, and then you have Calvin Ridley, who should be good. But like then you have Will Levis, who should be good for Tennessee, but like you just don't know. He's also unproven. So it's, I don't know. If I had to lean somewhere for this week, I'd probably go Jesse this week over Brad.
Yeah, I had asked Brad earlier this week, hey, you haven't really said anything about your team that Mike drafted for you. And he was pretty much just like, I freaking hate my team. It sucks. he said there's a lot of guys that he would not have drafted. So, But yeah.
Yeah.
No, my matchup. You gave me Tom's matchup to review here, which should have me be a little biased. But I'm trying to look at it objectively here. I mean, I think it's gonna be a close matchup. It should be pretty good. A couple people have. I don't really like Dak's matchup for week 1. But I feel like the Jacksonville Miami game could be pretty high scoring, which then will kind of like both Kirk and Hill there. I feel like I drafted a pretty strong wide receiver core for Tom. People might have thought I reached for Rashee Rice, but I really don't think so. I think if there was no looming possible suspension, I feel like Rashee Rice should have probably gone in the 3rd round, 4th round, based on what he did last year and the offense he's in. So if he doesn't get suspended, I feel like that's a boom. That can be a huge boom pick. I like DJ Moore. He's just, people don't really talk about him, but he's just very consistent. I have him in I think I have him in every league that's not Dynasty. I have him across the board and everything else I've drafted. I'm less high on Najee than I was a week ago. I kind of drafted Najee a lot of places because the reports were showing that Warren was likely going to be probably out week 1 and have his hammy linger into the season. And now it's almost sounding like he might be good to go for week 1, which then kind of has me a little less, because I still like Jaylen Warren, but I thought if he was hurt going into the season, that would definitely be a boom for Najee. And then Sean's team, he's got Lamar, he's got Tyreek Hill, I think could have a huge game week 1 because, as I mentioned, I think that game could be high scoring. It's a pretty tight game, but I'll be unbiased and pick Sean to win week 1.
Even with 2 Tennessee running backs starting?
Is both of them in? Yeah, then maybe not. Okay, then I'm gonna flip. I'll go with Tom.
I mean,
you talked me into it.
Yeah. So his other running backs, he did have both Green Bay running backs, but he dropped Marshawn Lloyd and picked up Emmanuel Wilson. I just thought, it was a pretty bold strategy drafting both Titans and both Green Bay running backs as your top 4 running backs. So
do he have he has Jacobs and Marshawn Lloyd?
He did have Marshawn.
He did drop Marshawn Lloyd.
He dropped him for Emmanuel Wilson.
Interesting.
10 out of 12 teams have already made moves.
Did anybody pick up Marshawn Lloyd?
I don't think so, unless he's on waivers still.
I'm going to talk Jesse into adding him during the podcast.
I'm looking to do that right now. Let's do an add player. But who do I drop? Romeo Dobbs, Jalen Wright, Drake May. I'll just drop New England's defense.
And why would you even have New England's defense?
Right. Let's just. This player is currently on another team's roster. What? Nicholas? I'm too slow.
Did Nick just add Marshawn Lloyd?
I'm pretty
sure.
sure.
But I dropped somebody I didn't want to drop, but I.
Tank Biggs. Oh, you at 9:34. It's 9:35 right now. Nice job, Nick. I had a sneaky suspicion. I don't do much transactions over the desktop, so it took me a little bit to figure out how to work this stuff. So
it's my first one on the desktop. Yeah. Erupted it.
That is funny. That's hilarious. All right. Where were we? I think we're moving on. Let's move on to we got Eric and Jimmy's matchup here. So I believe Eric had the second pick, and I think he went with Christian McCaffrey, which no brainer. He's a stud muffin. You know what? I love the love pick. Devontae Adams, a little bit on the aging side. Does he have a quarterback that's going to be able to get him the ball? Minshew was able to do okay with Michael Pittman and make him a viable receiver. Drake London now has a quarterback as well. He's got Kirk Cousins throwing the ball. He seems, everyone seems to be on board with him being a possible top 12 receiver. T. Higgins in a great offense with Joe Burrow. Rashad White is going to be catching a million balls from Baker Mayfield. I love Eric's team. For some reason, though, I feel like they're going to be very underwhelming week one. So this is not part of my bold predictions, but this is a bold prediction for this game. As Rashad White's going to be his highest scoring player. That's kind of a bold statement. And I like Eric to make the playoffs this year. I don't like Jimmy to make the playoffs, but Jimmy's going to get his win in week one. I'm taking Jimmy to beat Eric. It's my upset of the week. But, I think Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers are going to get off to a hot start. I guess it's another bold prediction. Garrett Wilson's going to be wide receiver 1 this year. He's really besides Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson's just going to be targeted so much by Aaron Rodgers. It's Devontae Adams all over again for Rodgers. So
How many plays is Aaron going to play this year before he gets hurt?
Probably I'm hoping
more than last year.
Yeah, more than last year. I'm hoping for my sake, for my dynasty team as well, that he plays an entire season. So, but Jimmy's team overall, I'm not a fan of, so I do think Garrett Wilson's going to be a great receiver, possible wide receiver number 1, but Stephon Diggs and Keenan Allen as your number 2, number 3 receivers, not the greatest. And I don't think DeAndre Swift is going to be maybe similar to what he was last year with the Eagles, which was, you can start him, but he's not going to have any major explosive weeks.
Is his youngest player like 26?
His youngest
Joe
player.
Burrow.
His youngest player is probably Garrett Wilson or Joe Burrow. Yeah.
Sorry, from Stephon Diggs down, I feel like everybody else is like 26.
Right. You got 30.
Or 30.
You got 31, 32, and then 26 or 27. Yeah. So he's got a pretty old team. And, but, I think Barkley, Burrow and Kelsey are going to have, and Wilson are going to have the big games for him in week 1. So he's going to get off to a hot start. His ego is going to be blowing up, and then Eric will be, all pouty. Oh, I lost week 1, but he's still going to make the playoffs. He's got a great team. But
that was a spot on impression.
Thank you.
Spot on impression of Eric.
Thank you. Oh,
I thought he was in your room.
Yeah.
Hey, Pookie.
All right. Number 2, we have we're good to moving on to Kevin versus Ben.
Yeah, it's kind of like the battle of the person who was there drinking, taking part in all the festivities all day, versus the person who just came, did nothing, and drafted and left. And it kind of showed. Like Boo. Kevin was kind of out of it. Boo earns.
What did you Ben was like the most fun person at the draft. I don't know what you. I mean, Ben was having a good old time. It looked like to me, he just.
Yeah.
Had,
so
what was it? Nutrient water or whatever Jesse said.
Essential water.
Essential water. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still have to go with Ben in this matchup. I mean, CD Lamb is apparently what's that status say? Celibate, CEL. I don't know. He's in his flex. I don't know. Celibate for week 1. Who knows?
It says exempt list.
Yeah, commissioner exempt list. Yeah.
What?
No, it was just he's fine. She's personal.
It's because he was holding out.
Not practicing.
It's him not practicing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But I mean, Ben's team, Hurts and AJ Brown stack. Mike Evans is going to get another 1,000 yards. Worthy's probably going to be a toss-up. Probably. I mean, he has Puka Nacua, who will shift into his third, wide receiver slot. Running backs, Connor will probably get replaced, but not until like towards the end of the season, mid to end of season. And then, tight end. I like Schultz as tight end. I think he's going to do well with CJ Stroud. So, I have Ben this week over Kevin.
All right, now it's to me here for what's the last matchup, Jesse? It's Nick versus Chris.
The last matchup is Nick versus Chris.
Nick's sitting here, so I should pick him, but this isn't a bold prediction I have for later, but the NFL recently had the players release their top 100 list of the top 100 players in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes was not the number one quarterback. Lamar Jackson was. The Chiefs play the Ravens. Mahomes is putting up like 90 in your league. He's going to be in like F you, I'm the best quarterback mode to open the season. He's going to light up the Ravens tomorrow night. So I'm going to pick Chris because of that. That's basically all the analysis I have. I saw he had Mahomes and said I'm picking them because I really think Mahomes could just go out and have this crazy game because of that reason. I saw somebody post about that. He gets like that. Like there was one where it's like he was playing the Jets and he had a pregame press conference where he's like, I don't know why the Jets didn't draft me. They needed a quarterback. I was available. They didn't draft me. And then he went out and threw like 5 touchdowns and just absolutely lit them up. It's like when he's motivated, he can just go out and just destroy people.
Mm-hmm.
And little things. But he's like Tom Brady. Tom Brady was like that too. People would like make a snide comment and I'm going to throw 6 touchdowns today. So I don't really like Chris's team, but I think week 1 he could get a win because of getting carried by a couple of his top tier players here.
Yeah, like I said in my Facebook post, I like Chris's team too. I think he's playoff bound. I do think he could benefit from trading one of his running backs to get more of a top tier receiver.
Yeah, he definitely needs another receiver.
Because looking at he's got Chuba Hubbard's a starting running back, to start the year. Who knows? Khalil Herbert could jump into more of a playing role. So he has options to get rid of, Mixon or Henry or Taylor to, get another awesome wide receiver. So
yeah.
All right, Nick, I love your team too, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think I like Nick's team better, but I just figured I'd pick Chris in week 1.
This week. Oh, I agree. Me and Chris already talked about it. Yeah, Also, I played Chris week 1 like 3 years in a row, so I play him twice a year every year.
Oh, do you? Who's in charge of shuffling the schedule?
Some a-hole that doesn't do it.
I honestly I thought it was random every year, so I didn't even think.
Yeah, and like I'll play him like
Yahoo,
I'll play him twice a
you
year,
have to do
every
it.
year.
Okay.
Yeah, Yahoo, you have to do it manually.
I will make sure I do that then, for sure. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Our big, beautiful faces will be on here only. We're moving into our bold predictions for this year. These could be for the NFL in general. It could be for fantasy football. You name it. Who wants to go first?
I can start if you want.
Go for it.
I'm going to change my scenery for this one. All right, so I did 5 bold predictions. They're all fantasy related. So my number 1 is Kyler Murray and Trey McBride finishes as the number 1 QB tight end stack in fantasy.
Okay.
I like that. I can definitely I can foresee that. I mean, they were both. I mean, McBride was well on his way to being the number 1 tight end last year. I mean, if he would have played,
I think it's gonna be Tua and Jonnu Smith. I think it's gonna be. There you go.
All right. So my second bold prediction is Saquon Barkley finishes outside of the top 18 running backs.
Wow, that is bold.
So he is a back end RB2. That's my second bold prediction.
Okay.
Number 3, I have Brian Thomas Jr. is a top 2 rookie wide receiver in scoring.
Okay. So he beats out Marv or Odunze?
League neighbors.
Or
One of the
League
two.
neighbors?
Yeah. Essentially, I'm saying Marv is 1 and he's 2 is what I'll.
You know, I did have that written down, and I was going to say that there will be 3 rookie wide receivers in the top 12 receivers in general, and one of them was not Romo Dunze, and so I was with Marv, Neighbors, and Brian Thomas Jr.
Right.
We're going to be my.
So
do you know
me and
how
Jesse
hard it
both
is
had-
for a rookie to go over 1,000 yards? And like,
That's why I did the one I did, because it's a lot more like
I know.
realistic just to like say like what ranking he'd be in rookies.
Puka just made it last year, barely made it over 1,000.
yeah.
Okay, so now here's my number 4. Now this took me some thinking here of how to make this like what I was trying to get to. And now that I wrote it down, it's literally the dumbest bold prediction ever. So now I'm just going to get rid of it because there's no chance it will ever. So I was trying to come up with a Josh Palmer one. I was trying to come up with a Josh Palmer bold prediction. I put Josh Palmer is the highest scoring wide receiver on a team that plays in the state of California, but I completely forgot about the Rams when I made that. I was thinking San Francisco, and I was like, all right, I'll say that's essentially me saying he finishes ahead of Debo and Ayuk. But I completely forgot about the which just completely my thought process.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I tried to go
ahead and
somewhere with that.
Yeah, you can go ahead and say Palmer scores more than Debo and Ayuk.
I'll say okay, or I would say Josh Palmer is a top 20 fantasy wide receiver, even though he's being drafted as like wide receiver 40 something.
That's a beautiful bold prediction.
And then my last one is Josh Jacobs and Isaiah Pacheco finishes top 5 running backs.
There it is. I knew you were going to throw in Pacheco somewhere.
See, and I couldn't. Just Pacheco as a top 5 wasn't bold. I had to throw in somebody else, so I picked Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
Cool.
My 5.
Cool. I have 3, but they're all fantasy related, but just to like our league. First bold prediction is we are going to have an undefeated team this year. I think it's going to happen. I haven't seen it happen in a long time. So
are you going to reveal who that might be?
No. But my second bold prediction kind of helps narrow it down. Somebody with a D or worse grade from the draft is going to win the league this year. And then my third one is Brad actually uses Fab this year.
Oh, okay. That's these are supposed to be actual realistic. They could happen.
I don't think he's used it in like 3 years.
I'm not sure he knows how to use Fab, but yeah. Brad, Fab is not what you do into your sock at night. Just so you know. Okay. All right, moving on. I got 2 bold predictions. One's both NFL and fantasy related. It's not crazy bold. I could see this in the realm of possibilities, but CJ Stroud throws for 45 touchdowns, has 5 rushing touchdowns, so 50 total. He is the fantasy and NFL MVP this year. And I think both me, you, Nick, and myself would love to see that. It would greatly help our teams.
I had a 6th bold prediction that I crossed out and changed. And it was that no Texans wide receiver finishes inside the top 20 wide receivers, which is essentially the anti-Jesse, where I was going to say Stroud is overhyped and kind of doesn't do as well in year 2.
Yeah.
I mean, all the just dump offs to Mixon the entire game. He'll still get him there.
And Dalton Schultz in the same.
Yeah.
And Schultz. Yeah. Yep. And then last one here was just going to finish off kind of like who I am predicting is going to be in the playoffs versus who's going to be out of the playoffs. I think I already mentioned that Spooner, I think Brad, the two of them are going to be out of the playoffs. And I think Ben's going to be one of those two, unfortunately. Even though I really like his team, I think it's going to come down to the last week of the season. He needs a win. I don't think he's going to get it done, unfortunately. But along with Ben, I also got Jimmy, Dave, and Sean. Those are my 6 that are going to be out of the playoffs. And so surprisingly enough, is Kevin. I know that's a shock. That's a bold prediction though for me. Kevin, Nick, Chris, Eric, myself, and Tom. Those are the 6 that are going to be in. You heard it here. We'll see what happens at the end of the season.
I mean, I can't not like that.
Yeah, I drafted Tom's team, so I was just listening for where he was.
The 3 of us. Me and Nick will be in the playoffs, and Andrew, you'll be in the playoffs in spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like spirits.
Wines and spirits.
Nice. All right, boys. Let's see. Last but not least, we have our very first week 1 mystery prize drawing. You guys ready for it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the kicker with the longest field goal. I know it.
All right.
Drum roll. I'm giving it.
We have the same 15 options, even though there's only, I think we only use like 12 during the season, but we got 15 of them. Andrew, you want to grab in the hat? Yep, right there. Yep, pull one out.
Got it. All right.
You got it. All right, here it is. It is the wide receiver with the most catches. And like always, if there's a tie, the tiebreaker goes to whichever receiver has more points.
So Jesse's going to win with Cooper Kupp. Or Justin Jefferson, who's just going to get 42 targets a game.
Possibly, either or. So thank you both for coming on the pod for week 1.
Glad to always come.
Yeah. Any last parting thoughts?
No.
Well, good luck, everybody. It's fun drafting and golfing with all you guys, and good luck.
Yeah. All right, guys. Enjoy week 1. First game's tomorrow night. Chiefs versus Ravens. And then we got Packers versus Eagles on Friday. It's going to be a great weekend. So
for the next 5 days, NFL football. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go. Week 1, baby. All right, boys. You have a good night.
Peace.
Peace
Good
out.
night.